Okay, and we are recording.
All
So I'm
right.
going to put this slide up.
Do we need to all mute ourselves unless we're talking?
That's a good idea, especially if you have dogs that might bark in the background.
Have y'all had a good morning? Plenty of coffee?
Little bit chaotic,
Yeah.
you know, but hey, it's the world we're in right now, right?
Right, right.
Mm-hmm. Transfers.
Question really quickly. I know we're recording, but I just got an email from one of our DAs. And since I have all of the professionals here, maybe y'all can answer this. During a Zoom meeting this morning, one of our pastors asked about information on a short distance FM transmitter. No one on the call knew anything about it. The pastor is thinking about the possibility of doing a drive-in service in the parking lot. I love that. Does anyone have any information on that? And could you provide some guidance? Does anyone know anything about that?
I might could help because radio background, but I guess yes. Send that pastor my way, and I can try to correspond with him.
Okay.
The only thing is, top of my head, the FCC, because of SEC regulations, it is likely that the FM transmission needed, the strength of the FM transition needed would actually require having a license, because those short throw transmitters are intentionally designed to throw no more than a few feet, because any further and you start interrupting licensed commercial and non-commercial signals.
So this does raise an interesting question, though. I wonder how many towns have a drive-in movie theater?
In Arkansas, there are none.
None left? Like, I mean,
I have actually done the
sad.
research before for a prior project that I was working on in college, and yeah, no, they've all been destroyed as far as I can tell.
that's a bummer, because that would have been an awesome opportunity, right?
Right.
All right, there's one on the way to Branson. I forget the name of the town. And I know this because Darcy went up there last year.
Is it on?
Hey, Blake Lassiter says there's one in Fayetteville.
I don't know about
Cool.
Well,
Okay.
that's cool. I wish I'd known that in college.
Possibility for it, maybe Easter.
that. They may start popping back.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So I want to encourage anybody that's listening that's in the Fayetteville area to see if they can rent out that space and start having worship there. Right?
That would be pretty cool.
Right?
In Theater, Arkansas. Oh, no, there is, yes, there's one in Marshall, Todd. That's probably the one you're referring to.
Well, Jacob, I have asked for I have copied you on that email and asked for her to put the pastor in touch with you, and y'all can see what you can figure out.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
So I see that Reverend Ward Rudolph has raised your hand. I want to share with you that when you're in a webinar, whenever we see you raise your hand, we cannot do anything except see that you raised your hand. So if you have a question, I invite you to look in the chat section and type your question in there, and we'll be happy to answer your question there. David Fleming said we've got to stop meeting like
David. Thank you, David, for the text messages yesterday that lightened up my day. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Let's see. Yeah, So I just looked at that link, Alan, that you posted in chat, and yeah, I just had no idea. I will say it does look like they're closed right now.
Yeah,
'Cause
they close seasonally. They open up for the summer, but I mean, all the more reason why
well, they
you.
open on March 27th. So
Oh, well, see,
Before
so
Easter.
close.
Just a thought. That's a great
Yeah.
thing. Great idea. I love people thinking outside of the box. That's awesome.
Let's see, 3552. So that's near the Fulbright Expressway. Oh yeah, I know exactly where that, like location-wise, where that is now.
Quickly before we start video, and while we're talking about thinking outside the box and ideas, did any of you see Sylvan, what we shared last evening at Sylvan Hills post that they've set up their church is closed, or the building is closed, and they're kind of a neighborhood church. You know, lots of kids play in the neighborhood and things like that. And they've set up a book station, a devotion station, a hygiene, you know, washing your hands station. And anyway, I thought that was so cool. Kudos to Sarah Bales and her team on that. And anyone else, please keep sending us your ministries where you are going outside of the church in light of the pandemic. All good stuff.
I think I saw the post. This is the one that they set out like right outside their front doors and such.
Yeah. And there's something for every age. They put the upper room devotionals, the books for adults. They put children's books. They put you know, all sorts of different things for all ages, just to pick up, and you can borrow it and return it, or you can keep it, but they're also asking, you know, they have a big thing of antibacterial hand wash there too. So anyway, just good community discipleship and ministry. So anyway, just thought, and it was just you know, super easy.
Well, it's funny because I did an audit there, so I kind of have very recently. So I have a sense of like what sort of foot traffic they have, and they, being a neighborhood church, they really what they said is they actually have a lot of people that walk by the church,
Right.
In order just by walking their dogs and such. So that it's interesting because that's the sort of the extrapolation of what they've done with that.
Right. And with kids out of school, and that, you know, this neighborhood is just full of kids and they're always out and about, that anyway, just a wonderful ministry. Great. Oh, I see that Alan Crum is working on an idea for communion right now. Lakewood, North Little Rock is doing that too. Good morning, everyone. Looking back. Anyway, lots of good ideas brewing. Keep it up, everybody.
Yep. Hey, Nan's joined us.
Hey, Nan. Hey, Russell. Hey, Maxine.
So as y'all have joined us, we will be starting promptly at 10 o'clock, whoever's here. But in the meantime, feel free to throw things into the chat. I did notice we had 2 participants who raised their hands. When you're in a webinar, the only way that we can respond to you in raising your hand is that's really just for like a vote situation. So I encourage you to go into the chat and raise any questions there, or share any comments that you have there, and we should all be able to see it there.
Awesome. I see that Ward Rudolph has said that they have ordered 500 self-contained communion services. So awesome. Great job. Great work.
Yeah, they do have to-go communions. that are perfectly sealed up, right? They've got a wafer on top and then a sealed up little thing of juice on the bottom. And I use those to take them to homebound folks. So yeah, those are great.
Awesome.
It's not the best tasting grape juice, I'll be honest. And the wafer is, but hey, it's still communion, right?
Communion. Jeff Warwick says, just don't leave them in the car for very long.
Right.
Good addition, Jeff. Hey, Jeanette, I'm sorry. Lay servant for Silver Springs. We're so glad you're here. We cannot hear you in a webinar. Michelle, someone has asked you, why do you have us muted? So explain how that works.
So the difference between a webinar and a Zoom meeting, we talked a little bit about this at the training yesterday, which by the way is all online. It's up on YouTube, and then later this afternoon it'll be cut up as a course. But the difference between a webinar, a Zoom webinar, and a Zoom meeting is a little bit that interactivity piece. So you can only see and hear anyone that's designated as a panelist, and those are the folks that are going to be presenting today. Otherwise, the way that you interact as a participant is to share your comments in the chat. Part of the reason that we have as many people on here as we do is so that several of us can be watching the chat at the same time that someone else is doing the presentation. So while, for instance, while Caleb's presenting, the rest of us will be watching the chat and answering any questions in there that we can. So you should, if you've got questions, we should be able to respond to you. And I will at least stay on a little bit after we've finished to answer any questions that we didn't get followed up on. And we'll probably also build a frequently asked questions page for the course that we will build as a result of this. So just share whatever you need to share in the chat, and we'll be happy to respond to you. If several people are raising the same question, then I may like if you have a question about Facebook live stream that lots of folks are asking, I may ask Day, hey Day, could you just answer this question? A lot of folks are wondering about that, and we'll address it directly in the course of the presentation as well. So keep your ideas and your questions coming. We're happy to share.
We're going to get started in about a minute. Is that right? 2 minutes?
Yep.
A minute, 2 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a real challenge with someone that raised the question of internet speed in rural Arkansas. It's a real challenge. We'll talk a little bit about some of the ways that we're helping step into rural Arkansas as well. Amy's going to talk some about that at the end. So. And someone wants to know the address for the YouTube. I will, when I'm not presenting, see if I can share that link. And but I know Day is going to be sending it out in the newsletter, right? Yeah. So.
Also, we are adding the links for the YouTubes. Each of these webinars that we do that will be uploaded to YouTube, we are going to house them on our website on the COVID-19 page. And it's just a quick link because the COVID slider at the top of the web page, arumc.org, when you see that, just click on that and it's going to take you to a special page, and you'll see where there is another button just to click that says previous webinars available here, and you'll just be able to click it. Jacob has set it up. It's very easy, but that's where they're going to be housed, and you'll have to give us like 12 hours after each webinar to get it uploaded and then housed on the website. But the one that we did yesterday is already there, and it's on the Zoom video conferencing platform.
Okay, it is 10 o'clock. And so we are happy to bring everyone in here. We are happy to have folks on. Welcome to this one that we will be dealing with how to stream worship online. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let Amy also greet everybody, and then we will move into the content.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much to everyone for taking the time to be with us this morning. I'm so blessed that I have almost my whole entire team. We're missing Christina, but she is busy editing video. And so we just said, you know what, you just keep doing that. We are also glad to have Todd Burris with us from Administrative Services. There's Jacob Turner, if you want to wave. Jacob is our communication liaison with local churches, as well as our web developer. We have Caleb Hennington, who is our digital content editor, and he handles everything of written word. Then we also have Dave Davis, who handles and manages all of our social media, all of our project management, as well as all of our newsletters. So we are very, very busy. And then, of course, you all know Michelle Morris, who we get to include as part of our team now as well. And she manages the Zoom, she manages course. Today she's managing our webinar, and we are just so blessed to have her and her knowledge and her friendships and support. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Michelle. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks. So we want to start a little bit out with getting a sense of where everyone is and what your experience is with live streaming. So I'm going to launch a poll real quick. And if you would just take a chance and vote. Have you ever done a Facebook or YouTube live stream? Yes, I've done them several times before this week. Yes, for the first time this past Sunday. Or no, I've never done a live stream. So if you'll take just a minute to vote, so we can kind of get a sense of everyone's experience. And whenever I get a sense that most folks have voted, I will share the polling. We are very excited to have you all with us. I know this is in many ways something that we're suddenly jumping into. We haven't had a chance to try this out before, and it seems intimidating, but the folks that did try something this weekend, even if it was just a live stream devotional, have seen enormous amounts of engagement, far more engagement than they usually see on a Sunday morning. So hopefully this is going to help us reach people in new ways and reach new people, so that once we can reopen our doors, we may have a whole new pack of folks that can join us. So okay, it looks like polling has slowed down, so I'm going to just share the results with you all. You can see that about 10 of you have done several times before this week. You've done a live stream, and 8 of you tried it for the first time this past Sunday. Way to be brave, yay!
Yay!
32 of you have never done it, so hopefully after this webinar you will have some confidence about that. So let's get you the equipment and the knowledge that you need in order to be able to do this. So I'm going to turn it over now to Todd Burris, who is going to share with us a little bit about the type of equipment that will be helpful for streaming and some other issues around just the mechanics of it. So Todd, take it away.
Making sure can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I had my microphone muted earlier and was just talking away. So I want to talk first about live stream and directly about limitations on internet speed. If you're in a place where you don't have high speed internet, especially on an upload, live stream just isn't going to be an option. But that doesn't mean you can't broadcast. And so in those settings, I would recommend you record a service and then upload it later for people to watch. Even if you're doing it in this particular time, when you're not going to have a congregation sitting out there watching anyway. I think having a recorded service that you can do well and then upload later, that way the people that are watching it are watching and hearing the best quality you have available. So don't think of this as the live stream as the only time that I have to share this information and to share this service. Even when churches do live stream well, I would guess probably 50% of their folks that actually view the live stream don't view it live. They view a recording of it much, much later. I think we saw this in Conway this last week. Michael had several hundred people watching live, and he just did a short devotional. But we wound up with over 2,000 views. So don't worry too much about making sure that it has to be at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning to be able to be effective and reach people. So all of the products I'm going to talk to you about are able to record as much as they are to live stream. The easiest way of doing any of these things is via an iPhone or an iPad or any type of Android tablet or phone as well. So you can, the one concern that I have with this, and particularly with any of these, is make sure you get the audio right. So don't rely on an iPad sitting 10 to 15 feet away from you to record good audio. If you have a sound system, the best option is to get the sound from the sound system into the live or the recorded audio. And all of these ideas have those capabilities, whether it be a phone or a tablet or the Mevo device, which is what Amy and the communication staff has decided on when they start giving away these grants. Our church is gonna pick up on the Mevo as well. We've ordered 2. They should be in this week. They do have much better microphone recordings capability than your tablets or phones because they're built for this. If you're going to do a true live stream, I recommend you look at OBS, which is, can I share my screen? Let's see.
You can, but Jacob's going to actually talk a lot more in depth about that. So why don't you
Okay,
skip
then
that
I'll
piece
skip
and
that.
he'll
Okay.
cover it.
Yay, Jacob. Sorry. So iPhone, iPad, Android device, any of your phones can use the microphone. I will caution you because of something I saw this week on Facebook. If you're going to use a phone or a tablet, use the forward-facing camera, the one that looks away from the screen, not the one that looks back at you. If you're using the one that looks back at you, it's mirroring the image. And so if you put anything with words on the screen or anything in words behind you, it actually flips the image and becomes unreadable. So use the forward-facing camera, which is always the best camera anyway. It's going to give you the best quality. And use a tripod of some sort so it's a stable, still platform. And then connect the external audio. And do you want me to talk about the Mevos now? Okay, good. I am going to share my screen, desktop number 1. Maybe. All right. Did that work? Nope. All right, now we're seeing this. I was going to talk about OBS. The Mevo cameras. This is what it looks like. It's very small and it has a good microphone at the bottom. It's built to do live stream. So it's got Wi-Fi built in, but you actually control it with a phone or tablet. It sits on a tripod or it can just sit on a shelf or something. It's got a flat bottom and it streams and records. So it streams in HD, but it records in 4K. So it records a much higher quality. Streaming in 4K is not really applicable, even if you have a really good broadband system. And then the audio source, which I was talking about earlier. It's okay to have this as your primary audio if there's nothing else going on and you're probably 10 to 15 feet away. You'll be fine. But if you've got sound system and you want to bring it in, there are many ways of bringing this in. The one limitation I will say about this particular camera is it only has a battery life of about an hour. Now that's simple to get around because it's got a USB charging, a micro USB charging port. You simply plug in an external USB charger and you have many hours of life because it'll sit there and record. The way you control this camera is via phone or tablet, and it has facial recognition built into the app. So as you're sitting there, or you'll have to have a director of some sort sitting there watching. They can drag or pinch to zoom, as it says down here. You can basically just tap on a person and it cuts to that square, or you can swipe to pan. So you can take that zoom box that is highlighted in red and just move it over to somewhere else. So say you're having an audio, a choir that's actually there singing, or a soloist, you can move back and forth. Whereas in a normal iPhone, you've got to pan that and then zoom in. Doesn't really work very well because it only zooms in a straight line. So whatever's in the middle. This will cut segments of your camera out. And so instead of having to move the camera, which always causes some sort of shifting and bumping in the camera, you're dealing with this just on the iPhone, and therefore you don't have to worry about any of that kind of bump. It also has an auto setup, which basically is going to kind of zoom in on faces that are talking. I don't know how well that works. We haven't used that yet, but it's something definitely to play around with. The app is what we just went through, talks about that. It will record while it's live streaming. So if you're doing a recording and a live streaming, you don't have to worry about that. You can upload the full quality later at some point if you choose to. And then later they're doing multi-cameras, but that's all in this. This is all the basic. You get this for $399, I think, is the camera. It looks like I've got a lot of questions popping up. So can somebody read me those questions?
Yeah.
Answering most of them, Todd, and we do need to kind of stay on track to give
Sure.
everybody a chance to
Yeah.
do it. So I would say, you if that's the main part of your presentation, you hop into the chat and help us answer the questions, and
will
I'm
do.
going to move on to Jacob if that's all right.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so Jacob, let's have you join us now, and you can share the integrating software piece.
All right. Okay. Just want to make sure I was unmuted before I started talking and then no one can hear me. All right. So as previously mentioned, I'm going to be covering, if I can get my screen to share, let's get that. Okay. Everybody can see this, right? This is OBS. OBS, or it's called Open Broadcaster Software. When it comes to live streaming, this is pretty much the gold standard in terms of software that allows you to manage it from a computer. Now, do keep in mind, if you're using OBS, what you have set up is both a camera feeding into your computer as well as another item such as a PowerPoint or video, or just sharing your screen in general, or some other component. That's what the software is really intended to do. If you're just working with one source of video, you don't really have to use a product like OBS, but otherwise you really want to use software like this. I've already gone ahead and installed it, so we can take a look at what the initial setup looks like. So I'm just load it up here. It will ask you if you want to run an auto configuration wizard. I'm going to go ahead and do that and just skim through it very quickly so that you can see what this looks like. Of course, you'll want to optimize it for streaming. Use those base settings as it recommends. At this point, it'll ask you for stream information, and there's a whole bunch of options here. Whatever service you decide to use, that service will provide information on how to use OBS, so we won't go through that here, but as you can see, Facebook Live is an option here. There's YouTube, as well as a couple of other services. So we're going to skip that part. and just go on.
Can I ask for you to, for those of us who have no idea about what OBS is, can you just back up really quick and say what this is to be utilized for? What this software
Certainly,
is
yeah.
for?
So what you want to use OBS for is when you have multiple sources of visual information that you want to share at once. An example would be if you've got a camera that you also want to show a PowerPoint, and you want to either show those either as an either or situation or a both and, where you have your live stream video and then the PowerPoint in the corner. And I'll sort of demonstrate what that looks like. But this is for showing multiple sources of information at the same time, as well as audio from multiple sources. So to sort of show how that works, as you can see here, there's a sources box. So I'm going to add a source. And you've got a lot of different options here, but the one we're going to use is video capture device to start. This may look a little weird. It's because that's just how it's going to work. But it's going to look fine when you're streaming it. So I've got a video capture device. It's going to pick up on my camera, and it should pick up on my camera. It may not because I've got Zoom going. So let me just a second. Let me stop video and see if I can't. Yes, add video capture device. Yes, there you go. So you can see my video on here now. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And as you can see, now I have it in this box. And this is the whole box is my live stream, but this is just what I have for my camera. So I can make that as large or as small as I want. And I'm just going to make it full screen. Now, say you want to have a PowerPoint going as well. So I'm going to do a window capture. Okay. And I'm going to pick, I pick my PowerPoint. Is it going to let me do that? No, it's not. Okay, that's fine. What I'm going to do instead is display capture. That's what I mean by it's going to look a little weird. But if I do that and then I put it here in the corner, and then I have my PowerPoint here, and I just go like that.
Question, really
Yes.
quickly for all of us beginners out there, how long do you think it would take to edit a video to then go online? I mean, are we talking an extra 15 minutes per week? Or are we talking an extra hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or is it just kind of depending on what?
I think that's really an applicable question for Caleb. He's going to be
Okay.
talking a little bit about that.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. So one of the things that will be talked about later is you can take this video and you can both stream and record it. So if you want to just say record it and then do something with it later, you can do that at the same time. And Caleb will talk more about specifically the editing part, but you can do that. As far as sources go, you can, as you see, there's a whole bunch of options here. One of the things that I've gotten with OBS with others is that it is a bit of a complex system. So this isn't something that you want to figure out the hour before the service. But there is a lot of great documentation. I'm going to go back here to this. If you go to obsproject.com, which is where the service is, and you click on their help button, they have a lot of different guides. If you click here for guides, there's a lot of information on how to get started quickly, how sources work, how the volume meters down here work, because you can pull in audio again from multiple sources and mix it just like you would any other sort of physical audio mixer. But yeah, there's a lot of features to this, but that's sort of a basic overview of what the software looks like when you're using it. So with that,
Jacob, I do want to ask make a couple of clarifying things. So
sure.
someone asked what the cost of OBS is, and it's an open software, so it's free, correct?
Yes, OBS is open source. It's a project that's sponsored by a lot of, if you scroll down their page, there's a lot of corporate sponsors, so that's how they get their funding. This isn't a project that's a fly-by-night thing. This is a very well-established product, but yes, it is free. It is open source.
Right. And then they also wanted to know, could you hop back and forth between feeds, or did you have to do picture in picture? Like if you wanted to show a slide and then go to the person preaching, is that pretty easy to do?
Yes, I can show that really quickly. And so again, so this is my screen. If I want to just show my face, I just click on this little icon here. If I want to go back, forth. So you can do that however you want and sort of order these however you want, whichever makes most sense. But so long as you make them both full screen, you can switch back and forth. And again, you can have multiple sources here. So if you wanted to switch back and forth between 3 or 4, however you wanted to do it, you can certainly do that as well.
Great.
I also want to
go ahead.
One more thing. While I'm demonstrating this with one camera, the software is also very good for multi-camera setups, and in fact, it's pretty much required for multi-camera setups. So if you want to, say, have one camera in one position and one camera in another and switch back and forth between them in a live stream, this is the program you'd want to use, and you just set up multiples of these video capture devices.
Right. So I know this feels overwhelming for some of you who are just wondering how I just need to be able to do this with my phone. This is integrating software that you may build into. Day and Caleb, who are about to share with us how to go on Facebook and YouTube, are going to talk from the very simple. We're just going to talk about live streaming, and then how do we integrate things further from there. Don't worry if this is flying past you. We're making sure that you understand that these tools are out there and available, and you can add them in. You can sort of scale up. So we can start with a more basic program and then scale up as we need to. But we wanted to make sure you knew everything was available and what the possibilities were. I also want to encourage you that this may be a time when you can really empower some of the younger generations in your church who have a lot of ability with these kinds of tools already. This is a real opportunity to give them purpose and meaning in our worship services, and it won't be as foreign of a concept to them. So think about the people in your church that you can empower. If that felt overwhelming to see Jacob just hopping through and you're like, I don't even know what he's doing, don't worry. It feels overwhelming. Yeah, it feels overwhelming to a lot of us, but it's not overwhelming to everyone. And these are stages that you can bring in. So with that in mind, I want us to take one more poll, and then we're going to move into that more readily available Facebook Live and YouTube options. So I'm going to ask, just so we get a sense of what everyone has, do you have a church page, Facebook page? Do you have, and you can answer multiples here. Do you have a personal Facebook page? Do you have a church YouTube account? Do you have a personal YouTube account? So if you take a moment and vote on there, does everybody see the poll? And then, is anybody voting? Is the poll out there?
I don't think anybody's seeing the poll.
Let me see. Let's try relaunching.
There it is.
Okay.
Can I note something really quickly, Michelle, while they're voting?
Yeah.
Just to sort of speak to that in terms of engaging youth in the service, that was actually my first job as a high schooler, was to work at Sheridan First United Methodist Church as the worship technician. So like, just to sort of give that background, that was my first experience, and I was in high school. And I knew other people through Conference Council on Youth Ministries that were also doing that sort of line of work in other churches in our state. So if that's sort of the question of are the youth really up to it, the answer is yes. There's a lot of them out there, and I really want to encourage that, just as someone who went through that himself and saw other people doing that sort of line of work just a few years ago.
Okay, so for whatever reason, it didn't give you the option for choosing two. But at least we know a lot of you. I'm going to end the polling and share with you all. So choose one of those, so we at least get a sense of that. And then, so there's quite a few of you that have a church Facebook page. Not a lot of you mentioned that you have a church YouTube account, but that may have been because you could only enter one answer. So if you everybody could either type in the chat if you have a church YouTube account, or if you could raise your hand and let me know that you have a church YouTube account. So that'll help Caleb know if how many of you all already have a church YouTube account. But Day, you're in good shape for being able to talk about how to Facebook live stream. So I'm going to turn it over to Day now.
All right. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about Facebook live streaming. I think most of you said that you have tried it, which is a good start. So a benefit to using Facebook Live is that the majority of your audience has easy access to it. Streaming through Facebook Live enables religious organizations to reach sorry, my dog's jumping on me, to reach well beyond their local region. So using Facebook Live, you're able to track engagement, you're able to interact with your congregations, and you're able to reach more than just who may be coming to church on Sundays. So I'm just going to share my screen to show you how to go Facebook Live. Hopefully this works. All right, did it work? Okay, so you're going to start by going to your church's Facebook page. You'll see up here, you can go live. So click on that. All right, it's not showing it. You're going to want to say something about your live video. Just live streaming webinar. And usually it'll allow you to go live down here.
Day,
yeah.
It's the same issue I was having with OBS. It's because we're on Zoom, so you can't do that.
Oh, okay. Well, just know, usually you'd be able to go live down here. You'll want to include information about your live stream up there. And then in order to end the live stream, there will be a button at the bottom of the page that says stop broadcast or finish. And so you'll click on that. I highly recommend when live streaming on Facebook, always test it beforehand. I mean, you're going to have to go live on your Facebook to do it, but maybe do it at a time that not a lot of people are on there or something. That way you can make sure that audio and video quality is good and everything is working, and you don't run into any complications. Let's see, how do I stop sharing? Okay. And yeah, I think that if you're using your iPad or phone, it should be really easy to just go onto the Facebook app and click go live, and it should be the same thing. If your Facebook page doesn't have a live button, I'm not really sure about that.
Do you think they might need to reload it or update it in their apps section?
It could, if I could say something about that, it could be that maybe your Facebook is not a page. It could be a group, or a lot of times before pages were a thing, Facebook or a lot of people created personal Facebook accounts for their businesses, and that was before pages happened. So it might just be you don't have an actual Facebook page yet. That's the only thing I can think of.
I'll jump in because there's one other thing I can think of is if you don't see the live feature, you may not have a verified business page. This is something you can do by just going to your page's settings and taking a look under page verification. That will allow you to use some of the other features that Facebook doesn't typically allow just any page to use.
Yeah.
There's several questions here. If you are having trouble, I was just going to say so that we can keep track of time, and if you do not have a live button available, reach out to our team after this call and after this webinar, and we can work with you individually and see if we can troubleshoot that for you, because I think there will be a fix for that. Day, also, I've seen there are a couple of questions about you can choose not to post it. After you go live, you can choose not to post it or save it. Do you want to talk about the benefits or of that?
Yeah, I think choosing to save it to your Facebook page is important so that people can access it again later on.
Right.
However, if you've really goofed up,
Yeah, true.
having the
It's a
freedom to go,
disaster.
never mind, to delete it, it does take some of the pressure off of that moment. I know I've live streamed a few times, and just knowing that, yes, whoever's watching me in that moment will see me. But if I feel like this was really a bad idea, I have the capability to remove that. I will also say one nice thing about live streaming is that does show up in people's notifications. If they're following you, it will show up in a notification and say, hey, so-and-so is live streaming right now. And so if they're on their phone and they see that notification pop up, they'll hop in there and come in and see what you're
I'm so glad you brought that up, Michelle. That is the beauty of Facebook Live, is that anyone who likes your page, all of those people, even if you have not seen them in your church building since the day you got there, they are still, when you go live, they are still going to get a notification on their phone that you are going live. And so you have reached those people so easily. And it also, by saving the video, people are able to share. And those people's friends, if they comment or if they like, all of the people that they are friends with are also now have access to it, and it's going to show up in their feed. So it's just truly a win-win situation, unless there's, unless it's a disaster of video like what we did. We have done this before. We did. We had a disaster live video and we deleted it. So there you go. It happens to everyone.
Well, and also I was thinking at annual conference, I mean, it never fails. There's at least one time at annual conference where the audio isn't working or something messes up. And so you just learn from it and you keep going.
Yeah. And everybody's kind of getting used to this sort of on the fly reality that we have. So you may be a splash for a moment for having made a kind of goofball move, but it disappears pretty quickly because there's someone right behind you who's made a goofball movement.
And also transparency. Y'all, I mean, we love, as a layperson, we love to see when our clergy are not just absolutely 100% perfect. It's okay. And it's okay to say, well, that didn't go as expected, but first time, and we're going to learn from this and try again next week. So, so if you just have a few minor little boo-boos, go ahead and post it. Go with it. But, hey, Cotton. But anyway, so I just wanted to say, unless it's just a total disaster, consider going ahead and keeping it and posting it. Right. So, and just saying,
sometimes a little disaster is a viral hit, and you can take that, right?
Yeah.
But this does, if you are a little nervous about live streaming, this is a good time to transition into what Caleb is going to share with us, because he's going to talk about YouTube and how you can pre-record and load. So Caleb, let's turn it over to you.
Sure. Okay. just go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Caleb Hannington. I am the digital content editor for the conference. And yes, I'm going to be talking today about how to pre-record your messages if you don't have the bandwidth or you live in a rural area that doesn't have good internet access. We did a poll earlier about how many of you have YouTube accounts currently. And I think we only had about 10 of you that do. So first thing I want to talk about is creating a YouTube account for your church. It's better to create one for your church and not a personal YouTube account. I'll say that first of all, because you need to have a church YouTube account if you don't already have one. The thing about creating a YouTube account is you have to have a Gmail to attach it to. So if you don't have a church Gmail account, go ahead and set one of those up first. Then you'll need to go to YouTube and connect it to your new Google Gmail account, and then you can go ahead and create your YouTube page. So the reason you would want to pre-record your messages is that besides not having live stream capabilities, it allows you to have more time to prepare, and you can pre-record your messages and cut out the bits that might be mistakes or dead air time or something like that you don't want to actually show to your congregation. My recommendation for recording your sermons beforehand is to do it about a day or two before Sunday or whenever you want to post it on your account. That gives you plenty of time to edit, gives you plenty of time to come up with a plan for what you want to record, the music, the sermon, all that stuff. You can do it either Saturday, day before Sunday. You can do it Friday and just go ahead and get it done with your team. Todd talked about a little bit on the equipment side of it. You can really just use your phone or tablet. You're not going to get the greatest audio quality, video quality, but if that's all you have, then that's all you can use at the moment. And it's still something. You can still edit that video that you create. You can still get it out to people. I mean, it's really just about getting your message out to people despite what we're all going through right now with the pandemic, So let me talk a little bit about, let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to do a test upload on YouTube so you can all see how that works. So let me share my screen. Okay. So this is your homepage of YouTube. Once you have your account created, you'll have an option up here in the top right, and it looks like a camera. It has a little plus sign in it. And what you're going to do is click on that icon, and you're going to have two options here. Now, you can do live streaming on YouTube as well. It works in much the same way that Facebook Live does. You select Go Live, and you do all of your title, your description, all that stuff, and then you can go ahead and go live with it. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Yes.
You have to have 1,000 subscribers to be able to do that from a mobile.
Okay, yeah. I did not know that.
They changed that, I think last year. You can still, you can do, the OBS would still stream to it because it's using their Studio Creator. But
right.
To do a Facebook or a YouTube Live with a phone, you have to have 1,000 subscribers.
Okay, so we're not going to worry about that then, unless you're a church with over 1,000 subscribers right now. So we're just going to go ahead and do the upload a video option. So you'll click upload a video, and it takes a second. Once you get to this screen, you're going to have to, whatever you're uploading from, whether it's your phone or your computer, you're going to have the file already on that device. I'm doing it from my laptop, so it should be right on my my hard drive here. I'll click select file. Disaster recovery summit we recently did. Oh, okay, here we go. It will take a while to upload, especially this video that I have because it's a 4K video. But once you get to the screen, you can put in your title. You can put in a description of your video, and then it's still uploading, but once it uploads, you'll be able to select a thumbnail, which is the image that shows up in the preview of the video. You want to make sure you select a good one, not somebody's face making a weird, you know, doing something weird on there. Maybe your church logo would be a good option. You can also upload a thumbnail if you don't like the selections that they give you here. You can add your video to a playlist, and I've created a couple here that I can, that are good examples. One is Sunday sermons. Another one is if you wanted to create some videos for small groups. You can just select those, and what playlists are is when somebody gets on YouTube and they go to your playlist, after a video is finished, it'll play the next video in that playlist. So if somebody's looking to watch a lot of sermons that they may have missed, they can just continue watching it. And then it has these new rules for if the video is made for kids or not. This is a new regulation from the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Most of the time we're going to say no, it's not made for kids, and the reason you say that is because audiences or videos for kids, like, it specifically has to be children's content. So you would just most of the time just say no, it's not made for kids. And then you'll click next. If you've got all of your information correct, you'll click next. It's going to add you if you want to ask you if you want to add an end screen or cards. You can mess with some stuff out. You don't have to. It's really just optional information there. And then I wanted to show you this. This is to save your video for now or publish it immediately. If you want to go ahead and publish it on your YouTube page, you would click public. And as soon as you press this publish button down here, it's going to be live on your YouTube page. So just remember that. You have a few options here for if you don't want it to be visible to everyone, you can make it unlisted, which means that it's published live, but you can't access it until or unless you share the link with somebody to that video. You can also make it private if you just don't want it to be public at all for now. Another cool option is to schedule your video. And this is really good for pre-recording your video and having it publish at the exact time that your usual Sunday service is. So if your service starts at, let's say 10 a.m. on a Sunday, you can go in here and select, we'll go the 22nd, and we'll make it, there we go, 10 a.m. And you can schedule your video. So it won't actually be live on your page until that selected scheduled date. So it's almost like you're going live if you schedule it for that time as your regular Sunday service. I went ahead and, as you can see right here, this one's still uploading, but I went ahead and uploaded this video previously, and you can see it right here.
Caleb, we've had a couple of questions from people about uploading and that it takes, how long does it take? Does it take forever? Are they doing something wrong if it's taking it forever? Can you address that?
Sure. Upload time depends on how fast your internet is and also how long your video is, how high quality your video is. Like I said, the one I'm uploading here, it's 57% done right now. It's a 4K video and it's about 2 minutes long. So this, I mean, you know, this will take another maybe 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes or something to upload. It really depends on how fast your internet is and how big your file is. There's a number of factors.
Give yourself a lot of time. You can set it to be uploading to YouTube and you can walk away. I mean, it does in the background. Loading, right? And so I have loaded videos that have taken hours before, if they're very long videos. The video that we did last night of the webinar, which was an hour-long video, but it was at 1080 quality, which is below 4K. It took almost an hour to load it up. So about the same length of time and that was with pretty strong internet speed. So sometimes it can take a while. So don't plan to upload something 30 minutes before you'd like to have it up for people to see.
Right. And for those who are in broadband poor
Right, yeah.
areas, you might even want to just work into first of all, you're going to want to identify the library, a local coffee shop, a business that offer a McDonald's even that oh, am I allowed to endorse a business? I don't know that I am, but anyway, I know that
We'll bleep it if you can.
Identify someplace close to you and just go ahead and try and mark off. I mean, as we're moving forward and moving to virtual ministry, this is going to take precedent in so much of what you are doing. And so I would identify a place that you can go once a week and spend about half a day, at least an hour or two in that place, so that you have rich broadband access and that you can try and get everything done then. And that way it's going to move quicker. And so anyway, that's just, I don't want the smaller churches who are in the rural areas and don't have good Wi-Fi access to think that you're stuck, because and you may have to drive, you may have to find someplace to go outside of your church office, but you know, coffee,
Right.
Coke, French fries, all that stuff is good.
Just
So,
to give you an idea, I'm at my house right now. Our internet is usually about we have Comcast, and it's usually about 20 to 30 megabits per second. So it's pretty fast. If you're in a rural area, this same video might take an hour, might take 2 hours to upload. You just really don't know sometimes, depending on your internet speed. But yeah, definitely. That's why I was saying record a day or two beforehand. That way you have time to cut the video, you have time to upload to YouTube, because you don't know how long that's going to take, and then schedule it for whenever you want to post. Yeah.
So
Do we
I
have any
will
other
say
questions
our
about it?
panelists, our participants are pointing out that the dining rooms are closed to a lot of these restaurants, and that a lot of libraries are closed, and
That's
all
true.
of those things are closing. And somebody said, should we sit in the parking lot and keep using their internet? And I was like, well, yeah, actually you could. I mean, it wouldn't be the best, but
I've done that before.
I've done that before.
Yeah.
I want to throw out there one thing you could consider, and this is really dependent on who your internet service provider is, whether it's a local company or it's big one like AT&T or Comcast, is some will let you increase your upload speed at no charge, because most upload speeds for residential connections especially, but also for some commercial, they're very low because people aren't typically uploading with their internet connections. But if you call your service provider and sort of explain the situation, they may increase your upload capabilities, and that will result in a lot shorter times in terms of uploading these videos to the internet. I say that as someone who has Conway Corp internet, and I would imagine that that's something I could ask them, for example.
Okay, so we have one more piece to present to you all, and you've already started asking questions about it in a thread, and that is the piece about copyright issues. Because yes, we do need to worry about and pay attention to copyright. We don't want to be in violation of copyrights. So I'm going to share a little bit about that, and hopefully that will answer some of your questions. And I know some of you all were nervous that we weren't addressing it. We were just saving the legal stuff to the end, right? So there are copyright concerns for us to pay attention to. The primary copyright issues that we tend to run into are issues around streaming music, but also issues around streaming images and liturgy. So you've got to have a license for streaming music, and we all have CCLI licenses and hymnal fair use, but those do not cover live streaming. Additionally, if you start streaming your service and you have music playing in the background and you don't have permission to be streaming that can be a violation as well. Only public domain words and tunes are not technically in violation. And then when it comes to images and liturgy, if you have a PowerPoint showing in the background or projecting in your feed, you have to watch where the images are coming from. And then liturgy that you take from books, from online, may also have copyright. So we can't make assumptions, even that our denominational sources are copyright clear. So I'm going to talk a little bit more specifics on what your options are for covering online music. Your best option is to get a streaming license. CCLI does have a streaming license edition. CVLI also has a streaming license edition. And then One License offers streaming license add-ons as well. And we will say that One License has come out and is offering free coverage through April 15th. And so if you go to onelicense.net, and when you go to checkout, you put on in CRVS, which I'm sure is for coronavirus, CRVS 20 at checkout, then they'll give you a license through the 15th of April for free. Then if you already have a One License account, but you don't have the streaming license, you can email them with your license number, your address, and that same code. And then that will help you get that free license as well. Another option is to use a streaming hosting service. So there are some churches that go through a hosting service. It is similar to doing something like Facebook Live or having your own YouTube account, except what you're doing is you're moving all of your content onto this streaming service that's specifically geared at church worship streaming. Church Online is one of them that's out there, Livestream and Ustream. In those cases, they would broadcast from a website, and then you could link to your Facebook page and you can link to your YouTube. Some of those packages do include the licenses, the live stream licenses. So you want to make sure that you investigate those if that's a route that you want to go as well. The other option is to only use public domain hymns and tunes. Make sure both pieces, the words and the tunes, are public domain. The hymnal can give you some guidance on that. You can also go to hymnary, HYMNARY.org, and I'll show you. I pulled up Amazing Grace, and when I typed in Amazing Grace, it gave me Amazing Grace, My Chains Are Gone, the song by Chris Tomlin, and it also gave me Amazing Grace, the hymn. And so I chose Amazing Grace, My Chains Are Gone, and if you see at the bottom, it has copyright, where the big red arrow is listed there, and it tells you who owns the copyright to it. That means it's not in public domain, so you cannot use it without a live streaming license. Then I looked up Amazing Grace, the song by John Newton, and you see down here it says uses, and it's blank. There you go. There's your public domain. So we're all going to be singing Amazing Grace, a ton of Amazing Graces around here, right? So you can go to hymnary.org and look up whether a song still has copyright on it or not. And then a couple of notes about words and images. There are copyrights around words. You cannot stand up there and just read from a book an extended passage without being in violation of copyright. There are what's called fair use. The sticky thing is that nobody's really defined tightly what fair use is, and it turns out publishing companies have their own definition of what fair use is. Typically, reading 1 or 2 lines from a book, 1 or 2 lines from a piece of poetry is considered fair use. And so you are covered in that sort of thing typically. And even if you read a whole paragraph and gave credit to the author, that doesn't necessarily constitute fair use. So you want to be attentive to that. Also, if you've gotten online and found a really cool liturgy, it might be copywritten. So you cannot assume. You can't just necessarily pull a book off your shelf and say, we're going to use this liturgy and we're going to broadcast using this liturgy. The whole liturgy may be copywritten. You are likely fine using the liturgy pieces. Again, a lot of the hymns in the hymnal are copywritten, so don't just assume because they're in the hymnal you can do them. But you're probably fine with the liturgy pieces using the hymnal and the book of worship at the United Methodist Church. Unfortunately, I could not find anything in writing on that. I'm just hoping that our denomination is going to be cool about that. I will tell you that I did find that the Book of Common Prayer is public domain. So you can use the Book of Common Prayer. There's no problem there. Anything from there is not going to be an issue. And then when you're working with images, don't forget that what's in your background matters. So your PowerPoints can get you in trouble. You may be standing there and they're focused in on your preaching, but you have an image on the PowerPoint in the background. If that shows even in part in the broadcast, then you can be in copyright violation for that. Also watch, if you use OBS and you decide you want to link in a YouTube video, you're not necessarily covered to be able to sharing that YouTube video. So best case, use original work. Produce your own material, take your own pictures. I will say if you take pictures of other people's artwork, you don't necessarily have permission for that either. But if you're just taking pictures, that's your best case scenario. Watch when you're taking pictures of people as well. Make sure you get their permission to use those images if you're going to be live streaming, because you don't want to like take it. If you accidentally take a picture of someone, for instance, who's in witness protection, and then you broadcast that, you could be in trouble, right? So you want to make sure that you've checked with folks if you're taking their pictures and using that as well. You can use some sources for images that release copyright issues. All the pictures that I used for this PowerPoint I got from unsplash.com. They release the copyright issues on that. You are welcome to use them in any way. They do encourage you to credit the folks, and if you noticed in the bottom corner of each of the slides that I had the list of who took the picture, and so that's all the crediting that you need. You can also use wikimedia.org for images that are in public domain as well. And whenever you're in doubt, just ask permission, and that will cover your bases. Absolutely. So we just want to be careful. We don't want to get anybody in any kind of legal trouble in the course of this. We want to make sure everyone is being fair and paying artists for the work that they do, and being protective of other folks' images and being protective of their work. So okay, were there any main, oh yeah, somebody mentioned pexels.com is also good, so that's another option as well.
Can I throw out another one, Michelle?
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen really quickly. This is another resource that I found that's excellent, and especially for churches that stick to the lectionary. The Vanderbilt School of Divinity, their Herd Library, has a resource on the lectionary that also includes links to artwork. And if, say, there's a piece of art that's related with the week's lectionary, we'll take this piece for example, there is information on its copyright and as well as usage and attribution as well.
Nice.
So this is a great place to go if you're looking for sermon illustrations or anything like that. And it's a wide variety of sources in terms of there's artwork, there's also photography, and it's all, you know, properly showing licenses and copyright permissions and such. So another great resource that I've shared with some churches.
Michelle, we've had a question very quickly. Are copyright issues and laws the same for live streaming and recorded publishing, or does that take different licensing?
It's the same. So it's just anything that you're throwing out there on online content is exactly the same. So if you're live streaming or if you're recording and loading the content up, those licenses will cover both, and you need to be attentive to the issues in both of those as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, if there's really, we will stay behind and answer some more questions, but I also want Amy to share a little bit to close us up, because we want to be attentive to everyone's time, a little bit about the grants that are available.
Sure. And I just want to touch on, I'm going to, a few bullet points, and then I'm going to share information about the grants. So I want to remind all of the church leaders that you don't have to record or go live from your church. I know this is where we're used to offering our sermons, offering our messages, having worship, but this is a great opportunity to step outside of the church building to host worship. So just find that rich broadband area and go with it. You know, ask permission first if you're inside somewhere else that someone else owns. But anyway, but feel like that you don't have to be in your church. Also, I wanted to touch very quickly on when you are videoing with a cell phone or a tablet, please be aware of your background. Be aware of what is behind you. Be aware of the angles of not doing videos where you're showing your chin and up your nose, and not, doing the selfie videos to where it's, coming from up here like influencers. You want it to be a nice straight ahead shot, and don't feel like that you have to do it from extremely far away or extremely close, but just a nice shot to where people can see your face and your expressions is good, and a straight on angle is best. Consider lighting. Make sure that you do not have a window behind you so that people can't see your face. Also be very cognizant of sound. Make sure that you can be heard, as Todd talked about before. Also want to let you all know that we will be sending Facebook invites after this for you all to join our United Methodist Church Communicator private group. This is a group of communicators, and as a lead clergy, if you don't have a communicator on staff and you are the communicator, then this private group is for you. We discuss everything from how to get people to open our newsletters better, how to transition from a paper newsletter to an email newsletter. We talk about video, we talk about brochures, we talk about all of that good stuff in this group. And so you will be receiving an invite to that. Join if you want to, not if you don't want to, but just know that it's all communication, and it is people from all over our connection that are asking questions or making suggestions. Okay.
I want to add to that, if they don't receive a Facebook request to join the group, they can find it by going to the Arkansas Conference Facebook page. And then on the side, there's an option for groups. And if you click on that, and then you'll see the ARUMC Communicators group, and you can attempt to join, and then we just have to let you in, and then you're good to go.
Perfect. Two more little things. I wanted you to know that, there have been a lot of questions on, do I live stream or do I pre-record and then share it? Just know that when you pre-record and share, not everyone is going to get the update on their phone. As when you live stream, unless you are live streaming and showing a recording of your video, people will not get that notification. It's just going to be like another post. So just be aware of that. And finally, so thrilled to be able to share with you all about the Connected in Communication grants that were awarded last week from our Methodist Foundation of Arkansas. We are going to be giving 100 Zoom platform subscriptions and these are for 6 months. If you don't know much about Zoom, get online and listen to our webinar from yesterday. It's on the COVID page on our aumc.org page. It's on a YouTube. We've uploaded it to YouTube and put it on our website. Learn more about Zoom. This is for small groups. This is for Bible study. This is for UMW. This is for meetings. So it is a wonderful resource to have that you're probably going to want to hang on to after the 6 months. Also, this grant is providing 25 Mevo cameras to churches that have a need for being able to video and live stream. For this one specifically, we need for you to email cfc@arumc.org and tell us why you need this video streaming equipment and what you plan to do with it as far as growing your ministry. All of these grants are specifically for medium and small churches only. And then the other 2 grant opportunities are, we are giving gasoline stipends to pastors who are, and preference will be given to those who are in rural areas and have a 2-point charge for making one-on-one visits, and having to increase that to keep connection with older members or people who have just maybe have had a baby or whatever. If you're having to make more one-on-one visits to homes, we want to be able to help you with your mileage there. Also, we will be giving to smaller rural churches paper and postage grants to help with, if you don't have a newsletter already, if you're not doing a weekly or a monthly newsletter, this is to equip you in being able to get some paper connection out to people. This is specifically also for people that are in poor broadband areas, and so that you can maintain connection through paper and postage and not just try to rely on online services and go, oh, well, there's nothing I can do because we don't have good Wi-Fi. So, so please apply for these grants. Again, the email is cfc@arumc.org. And please tell us why you want to be able to use this grant and what you plan to do with it in ministry. We are so excited to be able to give some money away from the foundation. I think that's about it. Michelle, do we have anything else? Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to stay on and answer a few questions if we can. Michelle, do you have anything else?
I think that's great. Thank you all for staying a little bit extra longer, but you just find out how to get free money, right? So that's always good. Thank you so much for your attention, for your questions, for all of the information that you've shared in the chat. It's been a wonderful resource to see everyone making other recommendations, and I'm going to compile those. We'll make them into a list, and when we load it as a course on our online learning system, we will have those resources listed available there as well. You all are welcome to go. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of the panelists and all the information that you shared. Like I said, we're going to stay on a little bit longer, answer a few more questions, and then you can reach out to any of us. I shared some of our email addresses in the chat, but you can call up to the conference offices. Even though the offices are closed, we are still getting phone calls. So, so feel free to call us or to email us. And if you email the cfc@arumc.org, email, that comes to all of us on the communications team, so we'll get it to whoever it needs to get to. So thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate everyone's attention, and we're all in this together. We're in prayers for you and your ministry, and we're here to be helpful in any ways you can. So let us know if there's anything else that you need. Blessings.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Russell. That was kind. Does anyone have any questions that we can answer?
I noticed some questions. People were using the Q&A section. Is anyone checking that? We had a few questions in there.
Can we use the Mevo camera with Facebook Live? Does anyone want to answer that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's frequently people do that. Yeah.
It's supposed to be used for, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Russell could you mention about the microphones on tablets, phones, and placement of device for sound quality?
So with tablets, generally they have a microphone input, and it would be great just to hook up an external microphone and get it closer. Or if you can bring the sound system into the microphone input there. That's a pretty cheap cable, $5-10 at the most. Amazon has those, or you can go to Guitar Center in Little Rock and get those.
Chase has asked, what are the copyright guidelines for live streaming or uploading videos to YouTube? Michelle?
Copyright guidelines, it's the same sort of thing. I will say though, and the license will cover you if you're loading under the entity that that pays for the license. For instance, if you loaded something on your personal Facebook page, but you personally didn't have that license, then you'll be in trouble. But the entity that has that license, so the Greenwood United Methodist Church or First United Methodist Church or Little Rock or whatever, if that's loaded to that Facebook page, and the streaming license, online license should all cover YouTube in that space. Whenever you do these, and I didn't actually mention this because it's one of the things that you figure out whenever you get the license, you do have to report everything that's copyright covered to the license, and they make the notification to the publishing houses. So this is another reason that you can't just throw something up willy-nilly. You do have to notify the licensing company that, like, you're going to use that Chris Tomlin song that I mentioned. And so it takes a little bit of planning.
Got a couple of questions here in the chat I'm noticing. The first one I see is from Jeanette. If you go live on a church page, will I need the license? Yes.
Unless you're just doing your sermon. If you're just doing your sermon and you're using original material, right? You're not standing up there reading a whole book. If you're just doing your sermon, you don't have images to worry about behind you. You don't need a license. You can just, that's your material. You can do with it whatever you want. So, but if you're going to stream music.
And I will say Facebook and YouTube are very strict. They will take your video down if they find something. I mean, it'll be immediate sometimes.
Yeah, they have little programmed bots that go through and look for stuff, and they'll pull it. And you can use the Bible. The Bible is fine. It's public domain, so no problem there.
Vimeo. Vimeo is fine too. Vimeo is fine to use.
So Vimeo doesn't do live streaming.
Well, Vimeo does not do live streaming, but as far as uploading it, as far as recording and uploading it to Vimeo, it's fine.
Yeah, Vimeo is great. Just more people are used to going to YouTube. I mean, it's just a more popular platform.
Yeah.
But I've seen churches use Vimeo.
YouTube is the most used social media tool across the world. It is used much more than Facebook, which is second.
So Maxine says, you're saying we should load first on the church page and then share. If the church page is what has your licensing coverage, then yes, load to the church page, either load it as a live stream or edit it in advance and put it on the YouTube page as there. And then you personally can share any of that link on your Facebook page. But where you want the content actually loaded to would be the church's Facebook page if you have that license. And remember, you have a CCLI license, but make sure you have a CCLI streaming license. It is not part of the standard CCLI license. It is an additional cost. So do not make the assumption that just because you have a CCLI license, you're covered for streaming. It's an additional piece. And someone asked about the prelude music. And even if the books are purchased, streaming is not covered. If the books are purchased, you are allowed to, you have full rights to have it in that worship service. But if you, as soon as you stream it, you need an additional license to be able to do that, which is why some people start their streaming at their sermon and don't share the music. Now, the music is an incredibly engaging piece and it draws a lot of people in. So that's why it's worth looking into the streaming licenses. But yeah, even if your prelude music is your choir stand up there, everybody owns the piece of music. As soon as you stream it, you're in violation of your regular license. You have to have an additional streaming license for that.
Unless it's an original piece.
Jeff asked about listing the license number in the video description. Yes, the license number and the streaming license number, which are separate numbers.
Right.
There's also, I've noticed that Ask the UMC has a How Can We Live Stream Worship Legally page that has a lot of resources. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat too.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
And I want to add also that I know there's a lot of talk about doing a worship, full liturgy, music, messaging, scripture, all of that. But also, I want to encourage you all to know that even right now on a Sunday morning, just a message from you as the shepherd of your flock, just a Facebook Live message from you, a devotion that doesn't have to be a major production. It doesn't have to be music and a liturgy and, all of this. It can just be scripture reading and message. And this is, I'm not saying to use this all the time because you want to keep it, you want to make it different every time, but just know that I would encourage you to take advantage of this time when we can do what our people need and what is comfortable for you and what is going to be most effective for your audience. And so number one, having an hour-long video is usually not really good because you're going to lose people. And number two, having more of a having something like a 20-minute or a 15-minute piece to where you are talking directly and praying specifically for and teaching to your audience in a comfortable place from you is going to be so effective. And so don't feel like that you have to rework an entire worship service, a traditional worship service, to live stream or to video and produce. And so understand that you can start small and you can grow from this. And that I also hope that you're going to see immediately the feedback from people who appreciate this opportunity for reaching others who are not coming inside the doors of your church, and that this is a ministry you can continue. So don't try to build Rome in a day. Start small, start short, just stay authentic, stay to who you are, stay to who your people are, and this is going to grow. And I see and I feel very powerfully that this is an opportunity for growth and discipleship for our churches, more so than cutting people off. So those are my last words of wisdom before I have to hop onto another Zoom call.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions that are out there? 19 of y'all hung around. We really appreciate that.
To my team, thank you, Todd, everyone. Y'all are just the best. Can't thank you enough. I've got to hop off because I've got to jump on another call, but blessings to all. Thank you. My team will talk soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody else.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, guys.